The gunshot shattered the champagne glass in Zara Coleman's hand. Blood bloomed across white marble, warm drops hitting her silver heels. Mrs. Choi screamed, but Zara couldn't move, couldn't breathe, watching masked men drag Mjun's unconscious body toward the service exit while 200 guests scattered like birds from gunfire. Another shot. The crystal chandelier exploded overhead, raining light across the ballroom. Zara's knees buckled. Her hand gripped the podium where seconds ago she'd been thanking the Choi family for accepting her, for this celebration marking her new life. The celebration was a massacre now. 5 men, all wearing the chairman's face. That elderly Korean with cold eyes haunting her nightmares for 3 months. They moved with military precision, weapons raised but not firing wildly. This wasn't about killing everyone. This was control. Spectacle. A message so loud the entire Korean underworld would hear it screaming. Choi Mjun, the White Tiger, Seoul's most feared crime boss, was being taken. In his own house. On his night of triumph. Ghost spark cut through chaos. The White Jindo charged, for bristling, teeth bared, attacking with the same fury he'd shown against Kwon. Zara's heart seized. No. Ghost couldn't survive another bullet. But the dog was fast. He leaped, jaws snapping, and the nearest man stumbled backward. Ghost's teeth found flesh. Blood dripped from his mouth as he landed, spun, ready for more. A second masked man raised his gun at Ghost's head. Zara moved without thinking. She grabbed a silver serving tray, hurled it with everything she had. The platter spun through air, slammed into the gunman's wrist. His weapon clattered down. He cursed, clutching his hand. Ghost bolted toward where they'd taken Jun, but 2 more men blocked his path. The dog skidded to a stop, growling, searching for an opening that didn't exist. The lead masked man stepped onto the stage. His voice came through speakers in the mask, distorted and cold. Zara Coleman. She froze. Her name on his lips felt like a brand burning into skin. You took what belonged to the chairman. His empire. His men. His control. You thought there would be no consequences. The ballroom went silent except for muffled sobbing and distant sirens that wouldn't arrive in time. Mrs. Choi stood near the entrance, face pale, hands shaking. Her eyes met Zara's across the room. Terror. Guilt. Understanding. This was always going to happen. Choi Mjun is ours now, the masked man said. 72 hours. Then we start sending pieces. 1 per day until there's nothing left to bury. Zara tastet bileri singin her troat. What do you want? The masked man tilted his head. Through the white painted surface, she felt him smile. The chairman will contact you with instructions. Don't disappoint him, Ms. Coleman. He's very interested in the woman who destroyed his life's work. Phones buzzed. Every masked man checked identical devices. Whatever message appeared made them move fast, backing toward the service exit, weapons still raised. The lead man paused at the threshold. 72 hours. Starting now. Gone. The service door slammed. The sound echoed like a coffin closing on someone still breathing. 3 seconds of silence. Then chaos. Guests ran screaming. Security guards surged forward too late. Mrs. Choi collapsed into her guard's arms, elegant composure finally shattering. Zara stood alone surrounded by broken glass, spilled champagne, lingering gunpowder. Her hands trembled. Her chest felt compressed, steel bands slowly tightening around her ribs until breathing hurt. Ghost limped back, blood on his muzzle, breathing heavy. She dropped to her knees, wrapped arms around his neck, buried her face in white fur that smelled like violence and loyalty. They took him. The thought drummed in her skull. They took Mjun and it's my fault. I made this happen. I painted the target on all of us. If you're new here, welcome to Afro-Korean Narratives. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because what happens next will break you. Now back to the story. Zara's fingers found Ghost's scar, the ridge from Kwon's bullet 3 months ago. The dog had survived because he was a fighter. Because he refused to quit even when quitting meant survival. She could do the same. She had to do the same. Zara stood slowly, legs shaking but holding. She looked at the destroyed ballroom, at guests fleeing, at guards trying to restore control already shattered, at Mrs. Choi being helped away from cameras that would arrive any minute to film this humiliation. 72 hours. 3 days before the chairman started sending pieces of Mjun through the mail. Zara's jaw tightened. Her fear transformed into something harder, sharper, more dangerous. She'd freed Mrs. Choi from 3 years of imprisonment. She'd exposed Kwan's conspiracy. She'd survived men with guns before. She would do it again. But this time she wouldn't wait for clues to find her. This time she was going hunting. And she wouldn't stop until the chairman was dead or she was. There was no third option anymore. The security room smelled like burnt coffee and electrical heat. 12 monitors lined the wall, each displaying footage from cameras across the estate. Zara sat in front of them, eyes burning from staring at screens for 2 hours, watching the attack replay over and over until every detail was burned into her memory. Ghost lay at her feet, head resting on her shoe, breathing finally steady. The estate veterinarian had examined him, found only superficial cuts. The dog was lucky. Again. Zara wasn't sure how much longer their luck would hold before it ran out completely. She rewound footage for the 9th time, watching masked men enter through the service entrance at exactly 9:43 p.m. They knew security codes. They knew which cameras to avoid. They knew the exact moment when most guards would be stationed at the main entrance greeting late arrivals. Someone inside had given them everything they needed. Someone in this house had betrayed them for money or fear, or whatever currency the chairman traded in. The door opened. Mrs. Choi entered, no longer the broken woman from the ballroom. She changed into simple black clothing, hair pulled back severely, face composed. But her hands still trembled slightly when she gripped the chair back. "Have you found anything?" They had inside help. Zara pointed to the timestamp. Security system went offline for exactly 47 seconds before they entered. Long enough to disable alarms, but short enough the monitoring company wouldn't flag it as suspicious. That takes system access and protocol knowledge. Mrs. Choi's knuckles went white. "Ooh, I don't know yet. But I will." Zara clicked through camera angles, studying each masked man's movements. Professionals. Trained. Efficient. But one moved differently. The leader. His gait slightly uneven, favoring his left leg. An old injury maybe. Something to remember. "The police want to speak with you," Mrs. Choi said quietly. "Detective Han." Zara's stomach sank. Police meant official investigations. Official investigations meant shining light on things better left in shadows. But refusing to cooperate would look suspicious, raise questions they couldn't afford. "Tell him 5 minutes." Mrs. Choi hesitated. "Zara, you don't have to do this alone. We have resources. Men loyal to Mjun mobilizing now. And how many can we trust?" Zara met the older woman's eyes. Someone in this house gave the chairman exactly what he needed. Until we know who, everyone is suspect. Not everyone. Mrs. Choi's hand touched Zara's shoulder gently. "You trust me. You trust Ghost. You trust yourself. That's enough to start." The words should have comforted. Instead they highlighted how small their circle of certainty had become. 3 months ago, Zara had been invisible, just another maid moving through hallways with her head down. Now she was family. Now she mattered. Now people she loved could be used against her. That made her vulnerable. And vulnerability in this world meant death. Zara saved security footage to an encrypted drive and stood. Ghost rose with her, pressing against her leg. "I need to check something first. Can you stall the detective?" Mrs. Choi nodded. 10 minutes. That's all I can give you." Zara moved through corridors quickly, Ghost trotting beside her. Staff pressed against walls as she passed, eyes wide. Whispers following like smoke. The attack had changed everything. The illusion of safety had shattered. Now everyone looked at shadows differently, wondering what else was hiding there waiting to strike. She reached the service entrance where masked men had exited. Crime scene tape blocked the doorway, but actual investigators were busy in the ballroom. Zara ducked under the tape. Ghost sniffed the ground immediately, nose working overtime, processing scents invisible to human senses. The dog moved in careful circles, then stopped. Body rigid. He'd found something. Zara knelt beside him. There, caught in the doorframe's crack, was a small fabric piece. Black material, torn, probably ripped when the men fled. She pulled a tissue from her pocket, carefully extracted the fragment. High-quality cloth. Expensive. The kind used in custom suits. But what she saw next made her blood run cold. Embroidered on the fabric in silver thread was a small symbol. A crane in flight. The personal emblem of the chairman's inner circle. She'd seen it in photographs from Kwan's trial, worn by men loyal only to the organization's true power. Ghost growled low in his throat, his eyes fixed on something Zara had missed. She followed his gaze to a security camera mounted above the service entrance, angled perfectly to capture anyone coming or going. But this camera wasn't part of the estate's official system. The casing was different, newer. Hidden camera, installed recently, probably by whoever helped the attackers. Zara stood slowly, mind racing. Whoever planted this camera had been watching the service entrance for weeks, maybe months. They'd studied patterns, schedules, vulnerabilities. This wasn't spontaneous. This had been planned with surgical precision. She couldn't remove the camera without alerting whoever monitored it. But she could use it. If they believed they were still undetected, they might make a mistake, might reveal themselves. Zara turned, walked back toward the main house, making sure to stay in the camera's view. She kept her expression neutral, defeated even. Let them think she was broken. Let them think she had no leads, no hope, no fight left. Meanwhile, Ghost had given her the first puzzle piece. The fabric. The symbol. The hidden camera. Someone close to the chairman was still inside the estate, watching, waiting, ready to feed information back to their master. Zara was going to find them. She had 71 hours and 17 minutes left. Time to start hunting for the rat hiding in the walls. Detective Han looked like every cop Zara had encountered in Baltimore. Tired eyes, cheap suit, the air of someone who'd seen too much horror and believed too little goodness remained in the world. He sat across from her in Mrs. Choi's private study, recorder placed carefully on mahogany desk between them like a weapon ready to fire. Ms. Coleman. His English was heavily accented but functional. You were giving a speech when the attack began, yes? Yes. And you saw the men who took Choim-jun? I saw men in masks. I couldn't identify faces. Technically true. Masks had hidden everything. Detective Han's eyes narrowed slightly. But you threw a serving tray at one of them. That's not the action of someone paralyzed with fear. That's training or instinct from prior violence. Zara met his gaze steadily. My dog was about to be shot. I reacted. Wouldn't you? Your dog. He glanced at Ghost sitting beside Zara's chair, watchful and silent. The same dog that attacked intruders during Mrs. Choi's rescue 3 months ago. Quite the protector. Almost like he's been trained for combat. He's loyal. That's all. Loyalty is valuable in this world. Detective Han leaned back, studying her with cop eyes that saw everything and judged most of it. Especially in a house like this. Tell me, Ms. Coleman, how does an American woman with a social work degree end up working for the Korean Mafia? The question was designed to rattle her, make her defensive. Zara had heard variations dozens of times from Baltimore police questioning her about Kesha's disappearance, about neighborhood violence, about why she wouldn't cooperate with their investigations into things she didn't witness. I work as a housekeeper for the Choi family, she said calmly. Whatever business dealings they have outside this house aren't my concern or my knowledge. But they became your concern when you freed Mrs. Choi, when you exposed Kwan's conspiracy, when you became family. He said the last word with particular emphasis, like it tasted wrong in his mouth. Zara's hands stayed relaxed in her lap, even though her heart pounded against ribs like it was trying to escape. Is there a question in there, detective? Just an observation. He clicked off the recorder. Off the record, Miss Coleman, you're in danger. The chairman doesn't leave loose ends. You embarrassed him. Cost him millions. Exposed his operation to sunlight that burns creatures like him. Men like that don't forgive. They don't forget. They just wait for the right moment to strike back. Then I guess I'd better find Jun before the chairman finds me. Detective Han's expression shifted slightly. Respect maybe. Or recognition of a kindred stubbornness that refused to bend even when bending meant survival. If you locate him, you call me. You don't play hero. You're not equipped for this fight. You're a social worker who got lucky once. Luck runs out. Zara stood. Are we done? For now. He gathered his recorder, movements deliberate and measured. But Ms. Coleman, one more thing. Whoever helped the attackers tonight is still in this house. They're watching you right now probably. Be careful who you trust. Be careful what you say out loud. Walls have ears and some of those ears report to monsters. After he left, Zara remained standing, processing his words. The detective knew more than he was saying. Maybe he had informants inside the organization. Maybe he was running his own investigation parallel to whatever the Choi family would do. Either way, his warning matched her own conclusions perfectly. The traitor was close, and they were listening. Zara walked to the study's window, looking out over Seoul's skyline. Somewhere in that sprawl of lights and shadows, Jun was being held. Hurt maybe. Scared definitely. Waiting for rescue or death, whichever came first. Her reflection stared back at her from glass. She barely recognized herself anymore. 3 months ago she'd been invisible, just another black woman in a foreign country trying to survive. Now she was a target with a price on her head, and people she loved in danger, because she'd chosen to listen when silence would have been safer. Who was she becoming? And did she like that person? Ghost's cold nose pressed against her palm. The dog looked up with dark eyes that held no judgment. Only trust so absolute it made her chest ache. He'd chosen her the moment she'd listened to his barking 3 months ago. He'd chosen her when no one else would pay attention to what he was trying to say. That choice had saved Mrs. Choi's life. Maybe it would save Jun's too. Maybe choosing to care about things that didn't concern her was exactly who she needed to be. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. The door opened and a young woman entered, one of the estate's junior maids. Hannah, barely 20, shy, always keeping to herself like she was afraid of being noticed. Ms. Coleman, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's someone at the service entrance asking for you. Zara's instincts flared hot. Ooh, he wouldn't give his name. He said you'd understand. He said to tell you he has information about the crane. The crane. The symbol from the fabric. Whoever this was knew Zara had found evidence. They knew she was investigating. This could be a trap designed to eliminate the one person asking dangerous questions. Or it could be the lead she desperately needed to find Jun before time ran out. Where is he now? Still at the service entrance. I told him to wait, but he said he won't wait long. Too dangerous. Zara grabbed her phone, turned on its recording function, slipped it into her pocket where it would capture audio. Hannah, I need you to do something for me. Go find Mrs. Choi and tell her exactly where I am and what I'm doing. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, she should send security. Hannah's eyes widened with fear. You think it's dangerous? I think everything is dangerous right now. Every choice. Every conversation. Every person who knows my name. Zara headed for the service entrance, Ghost at her heels. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it was trying to break free and run away without her. She'd left the hidden camera in place deliberately. Whoever was watching would see her meeting this mysterious informant. That might force the traitor to act, to reveal themselves through panic or desperation. Or it might get her killed before she learned anything useful. The service entrance was dimly lit, crime scene tape still blocking the main door, but the side entrance accessible. A figure stood in shadows just outside the light's reach. Male, Korean, medium build, wearing a black coat with the collar turned up obscuring most of his face like he was ashamed to be here. Miss Coleman. His English was perfect, American accented, like he'd grown up somewhere in California maybe. I apologize for the dramatic meeting, but I couldn't risk being seen by anyone who might recognize me. Who are you? Someone who wants the chairman dead as much as you do. He stepped slightly forward, just enough for Zara to glimpse his face. Young, maybe 30, with a scar running down his left cheek like someone had tried to carve their name into his skin and failed. My name is Park Jinwoo. What matters is what I know and what I can give you. Then talk fast. I don't trust strangers who hide in shadows. Smart. Trust is a luxury neither of us can afford. He pulled out a phone, showed her a photograph. It showed Jun bound to a chair, face bruised, blood on his shirt. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 hours ago. Recent. Current. Real. Zara's breath caught in her throat. Where? Abandoned factory, east side of Seoul. I can get you the exact address. But you need to move fast. The chairman plans to relocate him in 48 hours. After that, you'll never find him. He'll disappear into a network of safe houses across Asia that took decades to build. How do you know this? Jinwoo's expression twisted with something dark and old. Pain that had calcified into rage over years of carrying it. Because I'm the one who's been watching the hidden camera. I'm the one who helped install surveillance. And I'm the one who's going to help you destroy the chairman completely. Ghost growled low warning. Zara's hand dropped to the dog's head, keeping him steady while her mind raced through possibilities. This man was confessing to being part of the operation. He'd helped install surveillance. He'd fed information to attackers. And now he was offering to betray them. Why? Why would you help me? Zara's voice stayed level but her muscles tensed, ready to run if this went bad. Jinwoo's face contorted with grief so raw it made him look 10 years younger, like a boy who'd lost something precious and never recovered. Because 3 years ago today the chairman killed my sister. He pulled out another photograph. A young woman, maybe 19, with Jinwoo's same eyes but softer, full of hope the world hadn't beaten out of her yet. She was smiling at the camera, holding books like she'd just come from class. Her name was Park Min-seo. She wanted to be a teacher. She was smart, kind, believed in helping people. She saw something she shouldn't have. The chairman having someone executed in an alley behind his restaurant. She called the police because she thought justice mattered. She thought the law would protect her. Jinwoo's hand shook holding the photograph. They found her body 3 days later at the bottom of a building. The chairman's men had thrown her off the roof after doing things to her. I can't speak out loud without wanting to burn the world down. The police called it suicide. Case closed. No investigation. No justice. Just my sister dead at 19 because she believed good people would protect her from evil ones. He looked up, eyes wet but voice steady. I've been waiting 3 years for a chance to destroy him. You've given me that chance. You exposed his operation. You made him bleed. You made him angry enough to make mistakes. So now I'm giving you what you need. A location. A window of opportunity. And when this is over, when the chairman is dead or in prison, my sister's ghost can finally rest. Zara stared at him, searching for lies, for manipulation, for any sign this was elaborate theater designed to trap her. She saw only grief. Raw, honest grief that matched what she'd felt when Kesha disappeared 15 years ago. The guilt of surviving when someone you loved didn't. The rage at a world that let monsters win because good people stayed silent. If this is a trap, I will find you, Zara said quietly. And I will make you regret it in ways that make your sister's death look merciful. It's not a trap. It's a war. And you just enlisted your first soldier. He rattled off an address on the city's industrial east side. Zara memorized it instantly, each number and street name burning into her memory. The person feeding the chairman information from inside the estate, Zara said. Do you know who they are? No. The chairman compartmentalizes. I only had access to the security installation. But I know they're high-ranking. Someone with clearance to security protocols. Someone Jun trusts completely. That's how the chairman works. He doesn't buy strangers. He corrupts people you love and turns them into weapons pointed at your heart. Someone Jun trusts. The words hit like a physical blow to the stomach. The betrayal ran deeper than Zara had imagined. Deeper than she wanted to believe. I need more than an address. I need building layouts. Guard rotations. Weak points. Jinwoo pulled out a folded paper, handed it to her. Everything I could get without raising suspicion. It's not complete, but it's enough to plan an assault if you're willing to risk it. Zara took the paper, unfolded it. Detailed schematics of the factory. Entrance points marked. Guard positions estimated. Basement layout where Mjun was likely being held. Why give me this? You could use it yourself. Take your revenge directly. Because I'm a coward. Jinwoo's voice broke slightly. I've been planning for 3 years, but I can't pull the trigger. Can't look the chairman in the eyes and end him the way he ended Min-seo. But you can. I've watched you. You have something I lost. You still believe fighting matters. You still think one person can make a difference. So I'm betting everything on you, Ms. Coleman. Don't let me down. Don't let my sister's death mean nothing. He turned and disappeared into darkness beyond the service entrance, melting into shadows like he'd never been there at all. Zara stood frozen for a moment, processing everything. The hidden camera, the crane symbol, the confession, the photograph of Mjun, the schematics. The story of Min Seo thrown from a building because she believed in justice. 69 hours left. And now she had a target, a plan, and an ally who might be genuine, or might be leading her into an ambush designed to eliminate the last threat to the chairman's power. Only one way to find out which. Ghost looked up at her, waiting for direction. Zara pulled out her phone, stopped the recording. She had evidence now. A voice. A confession. A location. Not enough to go to police who'd proven they couldn't touch the chairman, but enough to act. She walked back into the estate with purpose in every step. Mrs. Choi was waiting in the hallway, face pale with worry that made her look older than her years. Did you find him? I found a lead. We need to talk. Privately. And we need to decide if we trust it enough to risk everything. They gathered in the study, just the two of them and Ghost. Zara played the recording. Mrs. Choi listened without interrupting, her expression growing harder with each revelation, each piece of Jinwoo's story about his sister thrown from a building like she was garbage. When the recording ended, the older woman spoke. This could be a trap. The chairman knows you'll be desperate. He knows you'll chase any lead no matter how suspicious. I know, but it's all we have. Then we don't go in blind. We prepare. We plan. And we bring enough firepower to level that factory if necessary. Zara nodded. And we find the traitor. Because if we rescue Mjun but the insider is still feeding information, the chairman will just take him again. We'll be fighting forever. Mrs. Choi's eyes gleamed with dangerous determination that reminded Zara why this woman had survived 3 years of imprisonment without breaking. Then we hunt on 2 fronts. You find my son. I'll find the rat hiding in my house. And when I do, they'll wish the chairman had killed them instead of recruiting them. They were going to war. And Zara had 68 hours to win before the chairman started sending pieces of Mjun through the mail. The clock was ticking. Time to move. The first warehouse was empty. Completely, utterly, devastatingly empty. Just rust-stained concrete, broken windows, and the lingering smell of industrial chemicals that made Zara's eyes water. No mhun. No guards. No sign anyone had been here in months. Zara stood in the center of the abandoned space. Ghost circling her with his nose to the ground searching for scents that didn't exist. Her hands clenched into fists so tight her nails drew blood from her palms. Jinwoo had lied. Or Jinwoo had been fed false information. Or this was the trap, leading her away from the estate while the chairman made his next move. 66 hours left. She'd just wasted 4 hours on a dead end. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe to accept. Ms. Coleman. Jinwoo's voice was breathless, urgent, like he'd been running. Did you go to the location I gave you? I'm standing in it right now. It's empty. You lied. No. Listen to me. That was the location the chairman wanted me to give you. He fed me false information, tested my loyalty. I just found out an hour ago. The real location is different. How convenient. You expect me to believe. I'm sending you proof right now. Her phone buzzed again. An image appeared. Mjun in a different room, newer timestamp, showing him still alive but beaten worse than the first photograph. His left eye was swollen shut now, blood crusted on his lip. Zara's stomach churned with rage, and fear mixing into something toxic. Where is he really? Jinwoo rattled off a new address, different industrial zone, farther east. I swear on my sister's grave this is real. The chairman tested me and I failed his test by helping you. I'm burned now. He knows I'm the leak. I can't go back. So either we work together or we both die alone. Your choice. Zara looked around the empty warehouse. Every instinct screamed this was manipulation. That Jinwoo was stringing her along. That the next location would be another empty building or worse, an ambush waiting to eliminate her. But what other choice did she have? Sit in the estate and wait for pieces of Mjun to arrive in the mail? I'm moving to the new location. But Jinwoo, if this is another dead end, I'm done trusting you. And I'm coming for you next. Understood. And Ms. Coleman? Bring more people this time. The real location is defended. You'll need firepower. The call ended. Zara keyed her radio to the team frequency. Sung and Kwan were positioned 2 blocks away, waiting for her signal. First location was a bust. Moving to secondary target. Jin-woo claims the chairman fed him false intel to test his loyalty. New address incoming. Do we trust him? Kwon's voice was skeptical. No. But we don't have better options. Mobilize the full team. If this is an ambush, we go in ready for war. 20 minutes later, they regrouped at the new location. This warehouse wasn't empty. Lights glowed in windows on the second floor. 2 guards stood outside the main entrance, armed, alert, actually watching their surroundings like they expected trouble. This looked real. This looked like a place the chairman would use to hold someone valuable. Zara crouched behind a dumpster 3 blocks away, studying the building through binoculars. Ghost pressed against her side, body tense, nose working the air. The dog caught something. His tail moved once. Just once. He'd detected Njun's scent. Target confirmed, Zara whispered into her radio. Ghost has the scent. Njun is inside. Copy, Sungzet Ponde. We're moving into position. Wait for my signal before you approach. Zara watched Sung's team split up, taking positions around the warehouse. They moved like professionals, silent and efficient. These were men who'd fought gang wars, who'd survived decades in the Korean underworld. They knew how to do violence quietly. Ghost whimpered softly. He wanted to charge forward, wanted to reach Njun immediately. Zara's hand on his head kept him steady. Not yet, boy. Not yet. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jin-woo. Basement. 3rd door on the left. Guards rotate every 30 minutes. Next rotation in 8 minutes. That's your window. Either Jin-woo was legitimate, or he was leading them into the most elaborate trap in Seoul's criminal history. In 8 minutes, Zara would find out which. All teams ready. Sung's voice on the radio. Confirmations came back. Everyone in position. Everyone waiting for the signal. On my mark, Sung said. 3, 2, 1, go. Zara moved. Ghost moved beside her. They crossed open ground quickly, reaching the warehouse wall. Sung's team took out the exterior guards with silenced weapons, dropping them before they could raise an alarm. Professional. Clean. The door was locked, but Kwon had tools. 30 seconds later they were inside. Dark corridor, smell of rust and old concrete and something else. Blood. Fresh enough to carry scent. Someone had been hurt here recently. Someone was bleeding. Ghost led them forward, nose to the ground, following Njun's scent like a compass pointing north. They moved through shadows, weapons raised, ready for contact. But the corridors were empty. Too empty. Where were the interior guards? They reached a stairwell leading down. Basement. Where Jin-woo said Njun would be. Zara descended first, Ghost beside her, Sung and Kwon covering their backs. The basement was dimly lit, 3 doors on the left just like Jin-woo had described. The 3rd door made Ghost whimper with urgency. Zara tried the handle. Unlocked. That sent alarm bells ringing in her head. Why would they leave it unlocked? Because it's a trap. Because they're waiting inside. Or because Jin-woo had already disabled the lock somehow. Only one way to find out. Zara pushed the door open, weapon raised, ready to fire at anything that moved. The cell was small, concrete, chains bolted to the wall. And there, bound to a chair in the center, was Njun. Head hanging forward, shirt torn and bloodstained, face swollen with bruises. But breathing. She could see his chest rising and falling. Alive. Still alive. Cover the door, Zara whispered to Sung. Then she rushed forward, dropped to her knees in front of Njun, hands reaching for his face, tilting it up gently. His eyes flickered open. Confusion first, then recognition. Then relief so profound it made tears sting her eyes. Zara. His voice was a rasp, barely audible, like something was broken in his throat from screaming. You came. Of course I came. Did you think I wouldn't? Her fingers worked the chains, found the locking mechanism. Simple padlock. She pulled out the tools Kwon had given her. 10 seconds later the chains fell away with metallic clatters that sounded deafening in the small space. Njun tried to stand and nearly collapsed. Zara caught him, her body taking his weight. He was heavier than she expected, all muscle and bone, and she staggered under the sudden burden. Ghost pressed against Njun's other side, providing support. Together, woman and dog, they kept him upright. Can you walk? I can run if I have to. Mjun's attempt at a smile came out as a grimace of pain. They didn't break anything permanently. Just made it hurt. Made me think about all the people I've hurt over the years. Made me wonder if this was karma finally catching up. Zara's jaw clenched. The bruises on his face, the blood on his shirt, the way he held his ribs like they might be cracked. The chairman's men had worked him over thoroughly. This wasn't just imprisonment. This was punishment. Message sending. Terror designed to break someone psychologically. We're getting you out. She activated her radio. I have him. Exiting through the basement stairs now. Copy. Sung's voice was tight with relief. Be advised, guards are mobilizing on upper floors. You've got maybe 2 minutes before they realize something's wrong and lock down the building. 2 minutes to get from basement, through the warehouse, to the extraction point. With Mjun barely able to walk. Ghost growled softly. He'd heard something Zara hadn't. Footsteps. Heavy boots on concrete. Approaching from the direction they'd entered. Can you move faster? Yes. Mjun straightened, pushing through obvious pain. Let's go. They moved back down the corridor, Mjun leaning heavily on Zara, but managing to keep pace. Ghost ranged ahead, ears swiveling, alert for threats approaching from any direction. They reached the basement stairs. Started climbing. Made it halfway up when shouts erupted above them. The guards had discovered the empty cell. Run, Sung's voice in her earpiece. They know you're here. We're engaging to cover your exit. Gunfire erupted. Not from silenced weapons this time. Full automatic fire. Sung's team engaging the chairman's guards in the upper floors. Buying time with bullets. Zara and Mjun burst out of the stairwell into the main warehouse floor. Sung and 3 of his men were positioned behind cover, trading fire with guards pouring down from the second floor. Exit's clear. Quan shouted from the doorway. Move now. They ran. Mjun's breathing was labored, his steps uneven, but he kept moving. Zara's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she pushed harder, knowing that stopping meant capture. Meant torture. Meant death. They reached the exit. Cool night air hit Zara's face like a blessing. The extraction van was 50 meters away. Engine running, side door already open. Behind them more gunfire. Someone screamed. Zara glanced back and saw one of Sung's men go down, clutching his shoulder. Quan grabbed him, started dragging him toward the exit. Sung covered their retreat, firing methodically, making each shot count. Professional. Controlled. Buying seconds that felt like hours. Zara pushed Mjun toward the van. He tumbled inside. Ghost leaped after him. Zara grabbed the door frame, hauled herself up just as bullets sparked off the pavement where she'd been standing. Quan and the wounded man reached the van. Sung came last, still firing, keeping the guards back. The van peeled out, tires screaming. Return fire from Quan's window kept guards from pursuing on foot. They raced through Seoul's industrial zone. Sirens wailing in the distance, the city waking to the sound of gunfire and chaos. Inside the van, Zara pulled off her jacket, pressed it against a bleeding wound on Jun's arm she hadn't noticed before. His hand covered hers, squeezing gently. Thank you. His eyes held hers with intensity that made her chest ache. You came for me. You risked everything. Always. The word escaped before she could stop it. A promise. A commitment. A declaration of something neither of them had named yet, but both of them felt. Jun's expression shifted. Something vulnerable breaking through the pain and exhaustion. He opened his mouth to speak, but Sung's voice cut through. We've got a tail. 3 cars. They're not giving up. The rescue had succeeded, but they weren't safe yet. The chairman's men were pursuing. And somewhere in Seoul, the chairman was watching, knowing Zara had taken back what he'd stolen. Knowing she'd made him look weak. Again. The real battle was just beginning. And this time, one of them wasn't going to survive it. The safe house was in Gangnam, hidden among luxury apartments where neighbors minded their business and security came with high price tags. Mrs. Choi's team had swept it 4 times before Mjun arrived, checking for bugs, for traps, for any sign the chairman knew about this location. They found nothing. For now, they were as safe as they could be. Zara watched the estate's doctor examine Mjun in the main bedroom. 3 cracked ribs, possible concussion, multiple contusions, severe dehydration. Nothing permanently damaged, but the pain was real and the recovery would take time they didn't have. The doctor emerged 15 minutes later. He needs rest. Proper medical care. But he'll recover. The human body is remarkably resilient when the spirit is strong. Can he travel? Not safely. Not for at least 48 hours without risking serious complications. 48 hours trapped in this safe house while the chairman regrouped, planned his next move, searched for them. It felt like being cornered with nowhere to run. Zara's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it for 3 long seconds before answering. Ms. Coleman. The voice was elderly, cultured, speaking perfect English with a Korean accent that carried decades of authority. I believe we haven't been formally introduced. My name is Chairman Hyen, and I've been very impressed with your resourcefulness. Zara's blood turned to ice. She gestured frantically at Mrs. Choi, who immediately activated a recording app on her own phone, capturing both sides of the conversation. How did you get this number? I have access to many things. Your phone number is trivial compared to what else I know about you. A soft chuckle that sounded like glass breaking. I must congratulate you on tonight's operation. Very bold. Very clever. You've proven more capable than I anticipated. Most people who interfere with my business are dead within 48 hours. You're still breathing after 3 months. That's remarkable. What do you want? To offer you a choice. One I suspect you won't like initially, but one you'll seriously consider if you're as intelligent as you appear to be. Papers rustled on his end. I have information about a girl named Kesha Williams. She disappeared from West Baltimore 15 years ago, when you were both teenagers. You were best friends, I believe. Inseparable until the day she vanished from that bus stop 3 blocks from your house. Zara's legs went weak. She grabbed the back of a chair for support, knuckles white, breath caught in her throat. You're lying. I don't lie, Miss Coleman. I gather intelligence. I collect information the way other people collect art. And I know exactly what happened to Kesha Williams. I know where she ended up. I know that she's still alive, though her circumstances are quite tragic. Would you like me to continue? Every instinct screamed at her to hang up. This was manipulation. Psychological warfare. The chairman was exploiting her deepest wound, her oldest guilt, the thing that kept her awake at 3 in the morning 15 years later. But she couldn't stop herself. Couldn't resist the poisoned hook. Keep talking. Kesha was taken by a trafficking network affiliated with my organization. Not directly controlled, you understand, but tangentially connected through business relationships. She was transported to several countries over the years. Philippines first, then Thailand, then South Korea for a brief period. She's currently in Manila, working in conditions I imagine you'd find morally unacceptable, though they're quite profitable for the people who own her. And you expect me to believe you'll just tell me where she is? Out of kindness. Out of pragmatism. I'll trade you Kesha's exact location, along with the resources to extract her safely from very dangerous people, in exchange for one simple thing. Walk away. Leave Seoul. Return to America. Abandon the Choi family and whatever foolish attachment you've developed to them. Do this, and I'll give you back the friend you lost 15 years ago. The friend whose disappearance you blame yourself for. The guilt you carry like stones in your pockets everywhere you go. Mrs. Choi was shaking her head violently, signaling Zara not to believe him, not to negotiate with a man who'd proven he traded only in lies. But Zara's mind was spinning out of control. Kesha. Alive. After 15 years of wondering, of carrying guilt so heavy it bent her spine, of seeing Kesha's mother's face every time she closed her eyes. I need proof, Zara heard herself say. Of course you do. You're intelligent enough not to trust words alone. Check your phone. An image appeared. A woman mid-30s, thin to the point of emaciation, working in what looked like a factory or warehouse. Fluorescent lights overhead, concrete floors, machinery in the background. Her face was gaunt, exhausted, aged beyond her years, but recognizable. The same eyes. The same slight gap between her front teeth. The birthmark on her left cheek shaped like a crescent moon. Kesha. Older. Broken. But undeniably devastatingly alive. Zara's vision blurred. Tears she'd been holding back for hours, for days, for 15 goddamn years finally broke free. streaming down her face like they'd been waiting for permission to fall. 48 hours, Miss Coleman. That's how long my offer stands. Walk away from Seoul, abandon the Choi family, and I'll send you everything you need to bring Kesha home. Her exact location, the names of the people holding her, the security weaknesses you can exploit. Everything. Stay here, continue interfering with my business, and she remains lost. Another nameless woman in Manila's underworld. Your choice. Choose wisely. The call ended. Zara stood frozen, staring at the photograph on her phone. Kesha, the girl who'd vanished from the bus stop while Zara was home doing homework, too busy to walk with her that day. The girl whose mother had begged Zara for information, for help, for anything to explain why her daughter was gone. The girl Zara had failed to save. It's a manipulation tactic. Mrs. Choi's voice was gentle but firm, cutting through Zara's spiral of guilt and hope and terror. He's offering you the one thing he knows you can't refuse. The one wound that never healed. But you can't trust anything he says. You can't believe a man who's built an empire on lies. The photograph is real. I'd know her face anywhere. I've seen it in my dreams for 15 years. Photographs can be faked with technology, or they can be real and the offer still be a lie wrapped in truth. Even if he gives you a location, what's to stop him from having her killed the moment you arrive? Or worse, using her as bait to capture you? Offering you Kesha's location only to take both of you once you show up. Zara knew Mrs. Choi was right. Logically, intellectually, she understood this was a trap designed to exploit her weakness. But the emotional pull was undeniable, overwhelming, drowning out logic like a flood drowning a candle. 15 years of guilt. 15 years of wondering what if. 15 years of carrying the weight of a friend she'd lost because she'd been too busy, too distracted, too focused on her own life to walk 3 blocks with someone who needed her. Jun appeared in the doorway, leaning heavily on the frame, his face pale but determined, moving despite the doctor's orders to rest. Zara, listen to me. The chairman knows your weakness now. He'll exploit it ruthlessly. That's what he does. He finds what people love and turns it into a weapon pointed at their hearts. But what if Kesha really is in Manila? What if I could save her this time? What if I could fix the mistake I made 15 years ago? Then we save her together. After we end the chairman. After we dismantle his organization. We use his resources against him. But not by walking away. Not by giving him what he wants. Not by surrendering. Zara looked between Jun and Mrs. Choi. 2 people who'd become family in 3 months. 2 people who'd trusted her, welcomed her, given her purpose when she'd had none. And then she looked at the photograph. One person she'd abandoned. One friend who'd needed her, and found only absence when she reached out. I need time to think. You have 48 hours, Mrs. Choi said softly. According to the chairman's timeline. But Zara, whatever you decide, know that we're with you. Even if you choose to leave, even if you choose Kesha over us, we won't judge you. We'll understand. Some debts can never be repaid. Some guilt never fades. That made it worse somehow. The unconditional support. The lack of pressure. Because it meant the choice was entirely hers. The weight of it entirely on her shoulders with no one else to blame. Zara walked out onto the safe house balcony. Seoul spread before her, millions of lights representing millions of lives. A city she'd come to by accident and stayed in by choice. Ghost followed her, pressed against her leg like he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. The dog looked up at her with knowing eyes. He'd made his choice 3 months ago when he'd barked at the East Wing for 3 weeks straight. He'd chosen to be seen, to be heard, to fight for someone who couldn't fight for herself even when silence would have been safer. Now Zara had to make the same choice. Fight for the family she'd found in Seoul, or fight for the friend she'd lost in Baltimore. The chairman had given her an impossible dilemma designed to break her no matter which way she chose. And he was waiting to see which way she'd crack. Zara didn't sleep. She stood on the balcony all night, watching Seoul's lights slowly dim as dawn approached, turning the sky from black to gray to pale gold. Ghost stayed with her, a warm presence in the cold morning air that smelled like exhaust and possibility. The photograph of Kesha stayed open on her phone. She'd looked at it 200 times, maybe more, studying every detail. The gaunt face. The exhausted eyes. The way Kesha's shoulders slumped like she'd forgotten how to stand up straight after years of being beaten down. By the time the sun rose fully, Zara had made her decision. She found Mjun in the safe house kitchen, moving gingerly as he made coffee, his ribs bound tight, his face still swollen with bruises that would take weeks to fade. But his eyes were alert, watching her carefully. "I'm not leaving," Zara said. Relief flooded Mjun's expression, quickly masked with the control he'd learned over decades in the underworld. "And Kesha? We'll find her. After. The chairman doesn't get to use her as leverage. He doesn't get to weaponize my guilt and turn it into a cage." Zara accepted the coffee cup he offered, her hands wrapping around the warmth. "But I need to know something. If the situations were reversed, if it was your family member the chairman had, would you walk away?" Mjun was quiet for a long moment, staring into his own coffee cup like it held answers. "No. I'd burn the world to get them back. I'd sacrifice anything, destroy anyone, cross any line. But I'd also know that giving the chairman what he wants never ends well. He doesn't trade fairly. He consumes. He'd take your surrender and still hurt Kesha just to prove he could. Just to remind you that mercy is weakness in his world." "That's what I thought too. Mrs. Choi entered, already dressed despite the early hour, looking like she hadn't slept either. She looked between them and nodded, satisfied with what she saw in Zara's face. "Good. You're staying. Now we plan his destruction properly." They gathered in the safe house's secure room, a space swept for bugs 4 times and outfitted with encrypted communications equipment that cost more than Zara had earned in her entire life. Sung and Kwon joined via secure video link, their faces grim with determination. The War Council was in session. "The chairman made a tactical error," Mrs. Choi began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd survived 3 years of imprisonment without breaking. "He revealed he's watching us closely, tracking our movements, monitoring our communications. That means he has additional assets in Seoul beyond Kong. We need to identify and neutralize them before they can feed him more intelligence. And we need to go after his resources directly," Mjun added, his voice still rough but gaining strength with each hour of freedom. "The trafficking network he mentioned. The business fronts that launder money. The politicians he's bought. Everything that gives him power and protection. We dismantle it piece by piece until he has nowhere to hide and no one to protect him." Zara pulled up a map on the display screen, marking locations. "The scarred man who helped me, Park Jin-woo. He said he wants the chairman dead for killing his sister. If that's true, he's a liability the chairman can't ignore. We find Jin-woo, we might find a direct path to the chairman himself." "Risky," Sung's voice crackled through the speakers. "He could still be playing you. The empty warehouse could have been a test to see if you'd keep trusting him despite failure. Everything is risky now. We're past the point where safe options exist. But we need allies, even questionable ones, if we're going to survive this war." They spent 4 hours planning. Attack vectors on the chairman's money laundering operations. Target lists of corrupt officials who protected him. Resource allocation for simultaneous strikes. It felt surreal to Zara, this strategic planning of what was essentially a criminal war. 3 months ago she'd been worried about laundry schedules and avoiding the head housekeeper's criticism. Now she was planning assaults on trafficking networks and money laundering operations like she'd been doing this her entire life. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She almost ignored it, but the pattern of the ring was different. 3 short, 1 long, 3 short. SOS in Morse code. Someone in distress. She answered. "Miss Coleman. It's Jinwoo." His voice was urgent, breathless, like he'd been running for his life. "We need to meet. Now. The chairman knows you took Mjun. He's moving up his timeline. You have less than 24 hours before he disappears completely from Korea." "Disappears where?" "Out of the country. He has resources everywhere. Safe houses in a dozen countries. Once he leaves Korean soil, you'll never find him. And he'll keep coming after you from the shadows until you're all dead. Your family. Your friends. Everyone you've ever cared about." Zara looked at Mjun at Mrs. Choi. They were both watching her, trusting her judgment, waiting for her decision. "Where do you want to meet?" "The old fish market in Noryeongjin. Noon. Come alone." "I don't go anywhere alone anymore. That's not negotiable." "Then bring the dog." But no one else. If I see anyone who looks like backup, I vanish and you lose your only chance to stop him before he flees. The line went dead. It's a trap, Quan said immediately, his voice flat with certainty. Probably, Zara agreed. But it might also be legitimate. And we can't afford to ignore it when we're this close. Jun stood, wincing as his ribs protested the movement. Then I'm coming with you. You can barely walk without pain medication. I can shoot. That's what matters when someone's trying to kill you. Mrs. Choi raised a hand, stopping the argument before it could escalate. Zara and Ghost will go to the meeting, but we'll have teams positioned at every exit, every rooftop, every possible extraction point within a 3-block radius. Jinwoo wants you alone? Fine. You'll look alone. But you won't be. We'll have 30 men watching your back from the shadows. It was a compromise Zara could accept, a middle ground between recklessness and paranoia. She checked her watch. 4 hours until noon. 4 hours to prepare for what was probably an ambush, but might be their only chance to end this before the chairman vanished into his network of international safe houses. They arrived at Noryangjin Fish Market 30 minutes early. Sung's teams were already in position, invisible among the crowd of vendors and buyers conducting their daily business. Zara walked through the market like a normal customer, Ghost at her heels, both of them scanning for threats in every face, every shadow, every person who looked twice in their direction. The scarred man sat at a small restaurant stall, eating raw fish like he didn't have a care in the world, like he wasn't betraying one of Asia's most dangerous crime lords. He gestured to the seat across from him when he saw Zara approach. You came. I wasn't sure you would after the warehouse was empty. You asked. I'm here. Talk fast. Zara sat, Ghost positioning himself between her and the nearest exit, body tense, ready to attack or flee depending on what happened next. Jinwoo pushed a folder across the table, his hands shaking slightly. The chairman is leaving tonight. Private airfield outside Seoul, 30 kilometers east. He has a plane chartered to Shanghai with connections to half a dozen other countries from there. Once he's gone, your window closes permanently. He'll rebuild his network from abroad, and you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. How do you know all this? Because I'm supposed to be on that plane with him. I'm part of his inner circle. Have been for 3 years, waiting for the right moment to strike. Waiting for someone brave enough or crazy enough to actually fight him instead of just surviving him. Jinwoo's eyes met hers, filled with desperate sincerity. You're that person, Ms. Coleman. You're the first person I've met who's actually hurt him, actually made him bleed, actually made him afraid. So I'm betting everything on you. Don't let me down. Zara opened the folder. Detailed schematics of the airfield. Guard rotations written in neat handwriting. Vehicle manifests showing exactly which cars would transport the chairman. Weak points in his security circled in red. It was too much information, too easily given, too perfect. Why now? Why help me when you've spent 3 years pretending to be loyal? The scarred man's expression twisted with old pain that looked like it had been eating him alive from the inside. Because 3 years ago today, my sister Minesio died. The chairman had her thrown from a building and called it suicide after his men did things to her I can't speak about without wanting to burn everything down. I've waited 3 years for justice. For revenge. For any chance to make him pay. And you're the first person who's actually damaged him. Actually made him vulnerable. So yes, I'm using you. But you're using me too. We both want him dead. That makes us allies whether we trust each other or not. What's your real name? Not the one you use with the chairman. Your real name. Park Jinwoo. My sister was Park Minesio. She was 19 years old and wanted to be a teacher. She believed good people would protect her from evil ones. The chairman proved her wrong in the worst way possible. And I'm going to prove him wrong by helping you destroy everything he's built. Zara studied his face, looking for lies, for manipulation, for any sign this was elaborate theater. She saw only grief. Raw, honest grief that matched her own when she thought about Kesha missing for 15 years. If I do this, if I go after the chairman at the airfield tonight, people will die. His guards. Maybe my people. Maybe me. Yes. Jinwoo didn't sugarcoat it, didn't pretend this would be clean or easy. This isn't a rescue mission. This is an execution. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to cross the line from defense to offense? From victim to killer? Zara thought about Mrs. Choi locked in the East Wing for 3 years, slowly losing her mind in isolation. About Mjun beaten and chained, suffering because the chairman wanted to send a message. About Kesha in Manila working in conditions Zara couldn't imagine, broken by years of exploitation. About all the other victims the chairman had created over decades of cruelty disguised as business. I'm ready. Jin-woo smiled, sharp and dangerous like a knife coming out of its sheath. Good. Then let's end him tonight. Zara stood, taking the folder, every page of intelligence burning into her memory. Ghost followed her out of the market, back to where the extraction van waited with Mjun, and Mrs. Choi monitoring the entire exchange through a hidden camera Zara had worn. Inside the van, Mrs. Choi's expression was thoughtful. I had my people check his background while you were meeting. Park Jin-woo. Sister Park Min-seo died 3 years ago under suspicious circumstances. He joined the chairman's organization 6 months later. Everything he said checks out. He's either legitimate or the most elaborate plant in criminal history. Can we trust him? Mjun asked, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd survived in this world by never trusting anyone completely. No, Zara said honestly. But we can use him. And right now that's enough. They had 12 hours until the chairman's flight. 12 hours to plan an assault on a private airfield defended by professional killers who'd survived decades in the underworld. 12 hours to decide if they were really ready to cross the line from defense to offense. From victims to executioners. Mrs. Choi made the decision for all of them, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd suffered more than most people could imagine. We go. We end this tonight. And we do it properly so he can't come back. The War Council reconvened. Plans were drawn with military precision. Weapons distributed. Roles assigned. And somewhere in Seoul, the chairman was preparing to flee, unaware that the prey he'd been hunting had turned into predators. The endgame was beginning, and only one side would survive to see dawn. The airfield was 30 kilometers outside Seoul, hidden among industrial warehouses and abandoned buildings where people didn't ask questions. The perfect place for illegal departures. The perfect place for a final confrontation that would end with someone dead. Zara crouched behind a concrete barrier, Ghost pressed against her side, watching the private jet being fueled on the tarmac. Lights blazed around the aircraft like it was a stage waiting for its star performer. But beyond their reach, shadows gathered thick. That's where Mjun's teams waited, 20 men armed and positioned at every possible escape route. This wasn't subtle. This wasn't careful. This was overwhelming force designed to end the chairman's threat permanently through violence if necessary. Jin-woo had positioned himself inside the security perimeter, maintaining his cover as a loyal member of the chairman's inner circle despite being burned. He'd promised to signal when the chairman arrived, when security was most vulnerable, when the window opened. That signal hadn't come yet. Zara checked her watch. 11:45 p.m. The flight was scheduled for midnight. 15 minutes remained until the chairman either boarded that plane or died trying. Any sign? Mjun's voice crackled through her earpiece. He was positioned on a nearby rooftop with a sniper rifle, his injured ribs strapped tight beneath body armor, pain medications keeping him functional despite the doctor's protests. Negative. No movement yet. It's too quiet. I know. Something feels wrong. This feels staged. Zara felt it too, a wrongness in the air like electricity before a thunderstorm. The security was too relaxed. The whole setup felt like theater waiting for an audience to arrive. Like they were being watched by something they couldn't see. Ghost growled softly, low in his throat. His ears swiveled toward the south entrance, tracking something invisible. Headlights appeared, 2 black SUVs approaching the airfield at moderate speed. Not rushing. Confident. We have movement. 2 vehicles. South in trance. Copy. Hold position until we have visual confirmation on the target. The SUVs parked near the jet with practiced precision. Doors opened. Men emerged first, security details spreading out in protective formation that looked almost choreographed. Then the chairman stepped out into the light. Elderly. Slight build. Gray hair immaculately styled despite the late hour. Wearing an expensive suit like he was attending a business meeting instead of fleeing the country. He moved with the calm assurance of someone who'd never doubted his safety, who'd never considered the possibility that someone might actually hurt him. Zara's finger rested on her radio, ready to give the signal to attack, to unleash 20 armed men on this monster who'd caused so much suffering. But something stopped her. Some instinct screaming warning. The chairman wasn't looking at the jet. He was looking directly at her hiding spot, his eyes finding hers across 200 meters of darkness like he'd known exactly where she'd be. Smiling. "It's a trap," she whispered urgently into her radio. "Pull back. Everyone pull back now." Too late. Lights blazed from every direction, hidden spotlights activating simultaneously, turning night into day in an instant. The shadows where Mjun's teams had hidden were suddenly exposed, surrounded, vulnerable. The chairman's voice boomed through speakers positioned around the airfield. "Miss Coleman, thank you for coming. I was hoping you'd take the bait. You're so predictably noble, so reliably heroic. It makes you easy to manipulate." More vehicles appeared from everywhere at once, dozens of them pouring out of warehouses Zara had thought were abandoned. Armed men emerged, encircling the airfield like wolves surrounding prey. Mjun's 20 became outnumbered 4-1, maybe 5-1. The math was impossible. "This wasn't about escape," the chairman continued, his voice carrying amusement that made Zara's stomach churn. "This was about finishing you. All of you. The Choi family has been a thorn in my side for too long. Tonight, I remove that thorn permanently and send a message to everyone in Seoul's underworld. Cross me and you don't just die. Everyone you love dies with you." Gunfire erupted. Not from Mjun's teams, but from the chairman's men, opening fire on the exposed positions simultaneously. Zara's team returned fire, but they were pinned, outgunned, caught in a kill box designed specifically for them. "We need to abort." Sung's voice was frantic on the radio. "We're taking casualties. Fall back to secondary positions now." But falling back meant exposing themselves to more fire from multiple directions. Staying meant being surrounded and eliminated. There were no good options. No safe choices. Just varying degrees of bad death. Ghost barked urgently. He'd spotted something Zara had missed through the chaos. A service tunnel entrance 50 meters away, partially hidden by debris. An escape route the chairman's men hadn't covered yet. Maybe because they didn't know it existed. Maybe because it was another trap. There. Zara pointed from Mjun's benefit, knowing he could see through his scope. "Service tunnel. Northwest corner. We use it to evacuate wounded." "Too far. You'll be exposed. They'll cut you down before you make it halfway." "Do you have a better idea?" Silence on the radio. Then Mjun's voice, resigned and determined. "I'll provide covering fire. Make every shot count. Go now." Zara keyed the radio to team frequency. "All units. Rally point is service tunnel northwest corner. Fighting retreat. Move now. Don't stop for anything." She broke from cover, Ghost running beside her like they'd done this 1,000 times. Both of them sprinting toward the tunnel entrance while bullets tore through the air around them close enough to feel the displacement. She didn't look back, didn't slow down, just ran with everything she had left. Behind her, Mjun's rifle cracked methodically. Each shot precise, calculated, buying seconds that felt like hours. Each shot potentially his last. Zara reached the tunnel entrance. Sung and 2 of his men arrived moments later, dragging one wounded. Kwon appeared from another direction, blood streaming from a shoulder wound but still mobile, still fighting. "Where's Mjun?" Kwon demanded. "Still in position. He's covering our retreat. We have to go back for him." He gave an order. "We follow it." But Zara's heart was tearing itself apart saying those words. More men poured into the tunnel. 14 out of 20. 6 unaccounted for. Dead or captured or still fighting. No time to check. No time for anything except survival. The tunnel was old, barely maintained, leading toward the industrial district through darkness that smelled like rust and decay. They moved through it quickly, splashing through standing water that soaked through boots, breathing air that tasted like copper and fear. Behind them, the gunfire was fading. Either the chairman's men had stopped pursuing, or they'd lost the trail in the tunnel's maze. Either way, they had minutes maybe before this temporary safety vanished. They emerged 3 blocks from the airfield into an alley where evacuation vehicles waited with engines running. Zara counted heads quickly, methodically. 14. One more had fallen during the tunnel retreat. But Mjun wasn't among them. Sung wasn't among them either. Mjun is still on that rooftop, Zara said quietly, the words tasting like ashes. And Sung stayed behind to cover the last group's retreat. Kwan's face was grim, streaked with blood and dirt, and something that looked like grief. They ordered us to evacuate. They knew they might not make it out. They made that choice. Then we go back. Zara grabbed Kwan by his tactical vest, pulling him close enough to see the determination in her eyes. I didn't leave Mjun to save myself. We go back for both of them. Now, that's suicide. The chairman's men will have secured the area by now. I don't care. We don't leave our people behind. That's not who we are. Ghost barked agreement, the dog's loyalty absolute and unquestioning. Kwan stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded, decision made. You're right. Load the wounded into the vans. Everyone else, we're going back. Arm up. This is going to be ugly. They armed themselves with everything they could carry. Fresh magazines. Grenades. Anything that could kill from a distance. 10 men, 1 woman, and a dog, preparing to assault a position held by 50 or more professional killers. The odds were impossible. The outcome almost certainly death. But some things mattered more than survival. Some loyalties ran deeper than self-preservation. They moved back toward the airfield using side streets and blind approaches, staying in shadows, avoiding detection. The chairman's men were celebrating, voices carrying across the night, thinking they'd won. Thinking they'd eliminated the threat. They were wrong. Zara spotted Mjun's position. Still pinned on that rooftop, still returning fire sporadically to keep the chairman's men from advancing. He was alone, surrounded, running low on ammunition based on the decreasing frequency of his shots. We need a diversion, Kwan whispered. Something big enough to pull their attention away from that rooftop long enough for us to reach him. Zara looked at the parked vehicles near the airfield entrance. The chairman's SUVs. Expensive, probably armored, definitely full of fuel that would burn beautifully. How many grenades do we have? Kwan caught her meaning and smiled grimly. Enough to make this memorable. They positioned themselves carefully, 3 men assigned to throw grenades simultaneously at different vehicles. The explosions would create chaos, confusion, opportunity. In that chaos, 2 more would provide suppressing fire while Zara and Ghost made for the rooftop. It was barely a plan. It was suicide dressed up as tactics. But it was all they had. On my mark, Kwan whispered. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Grenades flew through the air in graceful arcs. Detonations ripped through the night in sequence. The SUVs exploded, fuel tanks igniting, creating a wall of flame that lit up the entire airfield like daylight. The chairman's men scattered, shouting confused, their organized defense crumbling into chaos. Zara ran. Ghost ran beside her. Bullets chased them but none found their mark, missing by inches or feet, close enough to hear death whisper past. She reached the building, found the stairs, climbed 3 at a time while her lungs burned and her legs screamed. But she kept moving because stopping meant Mjun died alone on that rooftop. The rooftop door burst open. Mjun spun, weapon raised, then lowered it when he saw her. Relief flooded his face. You came back. Obviously. Did you think I'd leave you? She grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the stairs. Let's go before they realize what happened. They descended together, Mjun moving better now that adrenaline had overridden his pain and injury. They reached ground level as Kwan's team provided covering fire, creating a corridor of relative safety through absolute chaos. They ran for the extraction vehicles. Everyone piled in. Engines roared to life. Tires screamed against pavement. Behind them, the chairman stood near his burning vehicles, watching them escape. His expression was unreadable from this distance. But Zara felt his eyes on her. Felt his promise of retribution. Felt his rage at being made to look weak twice. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning of the end. But at least they were all still alive to fight another day. During the escape, while bullets were still flying and adrenaline was drowning out thought, Mjun's phone had buzzed. He'd pulled it out one-handed while steering the vehicle, glanced at the screen, then made a decision that would change everything. He'd typed 5 words. Sent them to Zara. Then put the phone away and focused on not dying. Those 5 words were, I love you. Come back. Zara didn't see the message until 2 hours later, after they'd reached a new safe house, and confirmed everyone was alive despite various injuries. She was checking her phone for messages from Mrs. Choi when she saw it. Timestamp, 11:58 p.m. Right in the middle of the firefight. Right when death was most likely. He'd sent it thinking he might die. Thinking those might be the last words he ever spoke to her. I love you. Come back. Zara sat down on the floor because her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. Ghost pressed against her side, sensing her emotional earthquake. She read the message 10 times. 20. Each time hitting harder than the last. Jun found her there 20 minutes later. He was limping, his ribs screaming despite pain medication, his face still swollen from the chairman's beating. But his eyes were clear when he saw her looking at her phone. You saw it? Yeah. I meant it. Still mean it. Probably meant it 3 months ago when you freed my mother, but was too afraid to say it. Afraid it would make you a target. Afraid it would give the chairman another weapon to use against us. He sat down beside her, close enough their shoulders touched. But he already knows what you mean to me. Everyone knows. So there's no point hiding it anymore. Zara's throat felt tight. Words stuck behind emotion she didn't know how to name. You sent it during a gunfight. While people were trying to kill you. Because I might not get another chance. Because if I died on that rooftop, I wanted the last thing I said to you to be true instead of tactical. He took her hand gently. I love you, Zara. I love your courage. I love your refusal to give up. I love that you came back for me when any sane person would have run. I love that you chose us over Kesha even though I know that choice is killing you inside. I didn't choose you over her. I chose to save her the right way instead of the chairman's way. I know. That's why I love you. Zara turned to face him fully. She saw the bruises, the exhaustion, the pain he was pushing through. But she also saw something else. Hope. Vulnerability. The same terrified bravery she felt every time she looked at him. I love you too. The words came out quieter than she intended, but no less true. I think I have since you trusted me to investigate the East Wing, when everyone else thought I was crazy. Since you believed Ghost was trying to tell us something important. Since you looked at me like I was more than just a maid who accidentally stumbled into your world. They sat in silence for a moment, hands intertwined, breathing synchronized. Outside the safe house, Seoul continued its nightly rhythm, millions of lives unaware that 2 people sitting on a floor had just changed everything between them with 5 words sent during chaos. When this is over, Jun said quietly. When the chairman is dead or imprisoned, when we've found Kesha and brought her home, when we can breathe without checking for assassins in every shadow, I want to build something real with you. Not just survival. Not just fighting together. Something that looks like a future. I'd like that. Zara squeezed his hand. But first we have to survive long enough to see that future. And right now, the chairman is alive, furious, and more dangerous than ever because we embarrassed him again. Then let's finish it. Tomorrow. No more waiting. No more reacting to his moves. We go on offense and we don't stop until he's destroyed. The door opened and Mrs. Choi entered, her face grave. We have a problem. The ambush tonight wasn't just about killing us. It was about sending a message. The chairman has released footage to every news outlet in Seoul. Video of our failed assault. Video of us retreating. He's spinning it as a terrorist attack on a legitimate businessman trying to leave the country. He's turning public opinion against us, Zara realized. Worse, he's painting himself as the victim. The police are looking for all of us now. We're wanted for attempted murder, terrorism, organized crime. Detective Han tried to warn me, but his hands are tied. The chairman has enough political influence to make us the criminals in this story. Jun stood slowly, grimacing. Then we need to change the narrative. We need evidence the public can't ignore. Proof of what the chairman really is. Jinwoo might have that, Zara said. He's been inside the organization for 3 years. He must have documentation. Evidence of crimes the chairman can't explain away. Mrs. Choi's expression was thoughtful. Then we find Jinwoo. And we use whatever he has to destroy the chairman's reputation, before we destroy the man himself. They worked through the night, coordinating with Jinwoo through encrypted channels. He had evidence. 3 years' worth of documentation, recorded conversations, financial records showing money laundering, trafficking networks, political bribes. Everything they needed to turn the chairman from victim to monster in the public eye. By dawn they had a plan. A dangerous, complicated plan that required perfect execution, and no small amount of luck. But it was the only chance they had to win this war before it consumed them all. The chairman's traditional hanok was beautiful in the way a viper is beautiful. Elegant, refined, deadly. Zara approached it the next day at noon, walking openly down the street with Ghost at her heels, not hiding, not sneaking, making herself an obvious target. Because sometimes the best trap is the one everyone can see coming. She'd called the chairman an hour ago, told him she was ready to accept his deal. She'd walk away from Seoul, abandon the Choi family, take the information about Kesha. In exchange, he'd let Mjun and Mrs. Choi live. The chairman had laughed. I knew you'd see reason eventually. Come to my residence. We'll finalize the arrangement in person. And Miss Coleman? Come alone this time. My patience for your heroics has run out. So here she was, walking into the monster's den, wearing a wire that broadcast to Mjun and 30 men positioned in a 3-block radius, carrying Jinwoo's evidence on a USB drive in her pocket, ready to gamble everything on one final play. The door opened before she could knock. A guard, professional, armed. Ms. Coleman, the chairman is waiting. She entered. The interior was stunning, traditional Korean architecture maintained perfectly, sliding doors, polished wood floors, elegant simplicity hiding a monster's heart. The chairman sat in the main room, tea service laid out before him like they were old friends meeting for conversation. He was smaller in person, more fragile looking than his reputation suggested. But his eyes were sharp, missing nothing, calculating odds and weaknesses with decades of practice. Welcome. Please sit. Zara sat across from him, Ghost lying at her feet. She could feel the wire under her shirt, feel Mjun listening to every word, feel 30 men waiting for her signal. You came alone. Wise. I'm impressed you finally chose self-preservation over misguided loyalty. You have information I want. I have something you want. Let's trade. Zara's voice stayed steady despite her racing heart. Direct. I appreciate efficiency. He poured tea, offered her a cup. She didn't take it. He smiled. Wise again. Trust is in short supply between us. Very well. Business first. He pushed a folder across the low table. Zara opened it. Photographs of Kesha in Manila, detailed address, names of the people holding her, security weaknesses marked in red. Everything he'd promised. This is real, Zara said quietly, studying each page. Of course it's real. I don't trade in lies when I'm about to win. He gestured to his guards. Now for my part of the bargain. Your departure from Seoul. Permanently. I have one question first. Why? Why go through all this trouble? You could have just killed me at the airfield. The chairman leaned back, considering. Because killing you makes you a martyr. Having you surrender and walk away makes you a coward. It sends a message to everyone in Seoul's underworld. Cross me and even the bravest eventually break. Even the heroes eventually choose survival over principles. It's a more valuable lesson than your corpse would provide. And what if I'm not here to surrender? His expression shifted slightly. Then you've wasted both our time. Not wasted. Just changed the terms. Zara pulled out the USB drive, placed it on the table between them. 3 years of evidence. Financial records. Trafficking documentation. Recorded conversations. Everything Jinwoo gathered while pretending to be loyal. It's already been sent to every major news outlet in Seoul, every police department, every prosecutor's office. Right now, detectives are reviewing proof that you're not a victim of terrorism. You're a monster who's avoided justice for decades. The chairman's face went pale. You're bluffing. Am I? Zara stood slowly. In about 3 minutes, police will surround this hanok. They have warrants. They have evidence. They have political pressure to finally arrest you now that the truth is public. So here's my offer. You release all information about Kesha. You provide resources to extract her safely. You confess to your crimes and spend whatever life you have left in prison. Do that, and I'll testify that you cooperated, that you showed remorse. It might keep you from dying behind bars. And if I refuse, then you die here. Today, my people are in position. We're done playing games. The chairman's guards moved forward. Zara whistled. Ghost stood, teeth bared, growling. The dog might not be able to stop armed men, but he could cause enough chaos for Zara to escape. But she wasn't planning to escape. She was planning to finish this. The walls exploded inward. Not literally, but close enough. Jin Woo and Jun's teams breached from 3 directions simultaneously, flashbangs detonating, creating chaos and confusion. Smoke filled the room. Shouts erupted. Gunfire cracked. Zara grabbed the folder with Kesha's information and rolled away from the guards, Ghost protecting her flank. She'd gotten what she came for. Now it was about survival. The chairman tried to flee toward a hidden door. Jin Woo blocked his path, weapon raised, face twisted with 3 years of waiting for this moment. For Minesio, Jin Woo said quietly. For every person you destroyed. For every life you treated like it didn't matter. The chairman's guards tried to intervene. Jun cut them down with precise shots, each bullet finding its target. More guards poured in from other rooms. Kwan's team engaged them, turning the beautiful Hanok into a war zone. Through the chaos, Zara saw the chairman making for a different exit. She launched herself forward, Ghost at her side, tackling the elderly man before he could escape. They hit the floor hard. The chairman was stronger than he looked, struggling, fighting for freedom. Jun appeared, weapon trained on the chairman's head. It's over. The chairman laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Over? This is never over. I have resources you can't imagine. Connections you'll never find. Kill me and 10 more will take my place. The game continues regardless of individual players. Then we'll fight them too, Zara said, standing. But you're done. Police sirens wailed outside. Detective Han's timing was perfect, coordinated through encrypted channels. They turned this assault into an official operation. The chairman would face justice. Real justice in a courtroom with evidence and witnesses. As the police took him away in handcuffs, the chairman's eyes found Zara one last time. You won't save her, you know. Kesha. Even with that information. She's been broken for too long. Some people can't be saved. Some damage is permanent. Maybe, Zara said quietly. But I'm going to try anyway. Because that's what you never understood about people like me. We don't give up. We don't abandon hope. We don't stop fighting just because the fight is hard. The police led him away. Jin Woo stood nearby, tears streaming down his face, justice finally found after 3 years of waiting. His sister's death finally avenged. Jun's hand found Zara's shoulder, squeezing gently. It's done. He's finished. No. Zara looked at the folder in her hands, at Kesha's photograph, at the information that might finally bring her friend home. Now it begins. Now we save everyone he couldn't break completely. Starting with Kesha. The Manila apartment was small, sparsely furnished, located in a neighborhood where people minded their business and didn't ask questions. Zara stood in the doorway, staring at the woman sitting on the couch. Thinner than she remembered. Older in ways that had nothing to do with years. But unmistakably, devastatingly her friend. Kesha, Zara said softly. The woman looked up. Her eyes took a moment to focus, to recognize, to remember a life from before everything broke. Zara? Is that really you? It's really me. I found you. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you disappeared. I'm sorry for everything. They'd extracted Kesha from the factory 3 weeks ago using the chairman's intelligence and Mrs. Choi's resources. Filipino authorities had cooperated once they saw evidence of trafficking networks. 23 women had been freed that day. Kesha was one of them. But freedom and healing weren't the same thing. Kesha stood slowly, like movement still hurt after years of being controlled. You didn't have to come. I know you have a life somewhere else now. I'm staying until you're ready, however long that takes. I might never be ready. I might be broken forever. Then I'll stay anyway, because you're my friend. Because I should have looked harder when you disappeared 15 years ago. Because you matter. Kesha's eyes filled with tears that had probably been waiting 15 years to fall. Why do you even care? After all this time? After everything that's happened? Because friendship doesn't have an expiration date. Because some debts can never be repaid, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. Because you're here and you're alive, and that's enough reason to fight for you. They sat together in silence while Ghost rested his head on Kesha's lap. The dog had a gift for knowing who needed comfort most. Slowly, carefully, Kesha's hand touched Ghost's fur. The first voluntary physical contact she'd initiated since being freed. Progress. Small, tentative, but real. Zara's phone buzzed. Jun. She excused herself and answered. How is she? Healing. Slowly. The therapist says it'll take time. And you? How are you? Zara looked out the window at Manila's skyline. A city as complicated as Seoul, as broken as Baltimore, as beautiful as anywhere if you knew where to look. I'm good. Really good. For the first time in 15 years, I don't feel guilty when I think about her. I'm doing something instead of just carrying the weight. I miss you. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. I miss you too. How's your mother? Thriving. She's restructured the organization completely, making it legitimate. Well, mostly legitimate. Some habits die hard. And Jinwoo. He's helping. Turns out 3 years of deep cover made him very good at identifying corruption. We're cleaning house. It'll take years, but we're doing it right this time. Good. That's good. Zara paused. I saw the news. The chairman's trial started. He's pleading not guilty to everything. Claims he's being persecuted by corrupt officials. It's going to be ugly. But he'll be convicted? Yes. The evidence is overwhelming. Jinwoo's documentation alone is enough to put him away for life. He'll die in prison. They were quiet for a moment, processing victory that felt more complicated than they'd expected. The chairman was defeated, his empire dismantled, his victims getting some measure of justice. But the cost had been high. Lives lost. Relationships strained. Innocence destroyed. When are you coming home? Jun asked quietly. Home. Seoul felt like home now. The Choi estate, despite all its danger, felt like home. The people there felt like family in ways Baltimore never had. But so did Kesha. So did this apartment. So did the work of helping someone rebuild their life from ashes. I don't know yet. A few more weeks maybe. Kesha needs stability before I can leave. Take all the time she needs. We'll be here when you're ready. After the call ended, Zara returned to the living room. Kesha was playing with Ghost, a small smile on her face. The first real smile Zara had seen since the rescue. He's a good dog, Kesha said. He's the best. He saved my life multiple times. Saved a lot of lives actually. How did you end up in Seoul anyway? Last I heard you were doing social work in Baltimore. So Zara told her. About the housekeeping job. About Ghost barking at the East Wing. About Mrs. Choi imprisoned for 3 years. About Mjun and the chairman and everything that had happened since she'd started listening to what a dog was trying to say. She told it like a story, like something that had happened to someone else. But it had happened to her. She'd lived it. Survived it. Changed because of it. When she finished, Kesha was quiet for a long time. You became a hero. I became someone who listened. That's all. That's everything. That's what I needed 15 years ago. Someone who would listen. Someone who would care enough to look. Someone who wouldn't give up. I'm sorry I wasn't that person then. But I'm trying to be that person now. They ordered food, watched a movie, existed in comfortable silence. Small steps toward healing. Toward friendship rebuilt. Toward futures uncertain but possible. That night, Zara stood on the apartment's small balcony while Ghost sat beside her. Her phone showed messages from Seoul. Mrs. Choi asking when she'd return. Kwon sending updates on the organization's restructuring. Jinwoo sharing news about corruption cases being built against the chairman's political allies. And Jun. A simple message. Whenever you're ready. We're waiting. I love you. Ghost looked up at her, tail wagging slightly. The dog who'd followed her from Seoul to Baltimore to Seoul to Manila. The dog who'd been with her through every impossible choice. Every dangerous moment. Every transformation from invisible made to someone who mattered. What do you think, boy? Are we ready to go home soon? Ghost barked once. Soft certain. Yes. But not yet. Not until Kesha was stable. Not until her friend had a foundation to stand on. Zara looked at Manila's lights, thought about Seoul's lights, remembered Baltimore's lights. 3 cities. 3 versions of herself. The girl who'd let her friend disappear. The woman who'd fought the chairman. The person she was becoming now. She pulled out her phone and typed a message to Mjun. 6 weeks. There's someone I want you to meet. Her name is Kesha. She's family too now. His response came immediately. I'll be waiting. With my mother. And questions about when you're going to stop risking your life. Zara smiled. Never. That's not who I am anymore. I know. That's what I love about you. She put the phone away and sat down beside Ghost. The city sprawled before them, full of people with stories, with pain, with hope. Somewhere out there were more people like Kesha. More people trapped, forgotten, lost. Zara couldn't save them all. But she could save the ones she could reach. And that would have to be enough. Ghost rested his head on her lap. The dog who'd started everything with 3 weeks of barking at a sealed door. The dog who'd refused to be silent when silence was easier. The dog who'd taught her the most important lesson. Some people don't give up. Some people don't walk away. Some people fight for what matters even when the odds are impossible. Zara was one of those people now. And she was just getting started. In Seoul, Mrs. Choi smiled and told Mjun, she's coming home soon. She always does. I know, Mjun said, looking at the photograph Zara had sent of her and Kesha together, both smiling. She keeps her promises.